And did you ever like get nervous, like, oh, my carry's gone, my jungler's gone, my top laner's gone?
And this is what I told the staff at the end of the to the end of the split with like a normal exit interview. This is like
The classic gamer meme going from like this to
yeah. Honestly, right now it can be a little chaotic.
Who would you rather like beat if you could only beat one of them?
Tough, actually.
I guess I kind of assumed that Zven would be the leader on this team just because he seems like the most vocal person, but is that assumption correct?
Obviously, no shade to my past teammates, but that's kind of just the reality sometimes, you know?
Isles, your teammates from last split are falling like birds. You have a completely new team, a new coach. What was the offseason like for you? And did you ever like get nervous, like, oh, my carry's gone, my jungler's gone, my top laner's gone?
Well, truthfully, I didn't really see the offseason going how it did. I think originally, I was expecting the roster to stay the same, which I wasn't like that unhappy with or anything. It's just that I felt like our progression as a team in spring kind of hit a wall at some point, and there need to be changes, either like from plays individually or like as a team, and like the culture and whatnot needed to change or go in a different direction, whatever it might be, right? This is what I told the staff at the end of the to the end of the split with like a normal exit interview. This is like standard procedure. And I said either the culture has changed, the players have changed something within themselves, or there might need to be roster changes, right? I wasn't really, I suppose, the one like facilitating change necessarily, but I wasn't opposed to it in some positions, or like just it's there's nothing wrong with like shopping a little bit, but I never really feared for my spot. I felt like I was integral to the team. I felt like I played really well in spring, or at least behind the scenes. Like our stage performances weren't like insane. There was definitely good moments and bad moments, but I think individually I still have a lot more to show. And even though it ended up how it did, where it's funny because like people joke that I'm like the only survivor, but I think unfortunately esports kind of can be just that situation where sometimes the best player has to play. And the way at least I come to terms with it, I think, when I was thinking about it to myself, is that if this was the roster I had at the start of the year and I was the GM, or I was asked, would I play with this team or X team, there's a little bit of like hesitancy to want to play with a completely new team mid-split. But if I was asked at the start of the year, I would feel confident with the teammates I have now. And even after just scrimming a couple days, I can already see like culturally it's a lot easier to get along and just, I don't know, converse with people that all speak English. Obviously, no shade to my past teammates, but that's kind of just the reality sometimes,
You obviously have two teammates who just came from FlyQuest, and then we didn't know Spica got dropped off a Twitter post, and obviously Jensen might have a little bit of fuel underneath him. I'm a fan of like traditional sports, and if something were to happen like between, this is way back when, but Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant, like there's a time where Michael beat Kobe, and like Kobe didn't talk for like 2 weeks to his teammates. He was just like completely locked in. Practice was super intense. The environment, you could kind of feel it. Is there any of that like pure, not rage, but like intensity when it comes to your teammates?
I think in general, there will always be, like you say, a bit more intensity when you play against people you either respect or people you really want to beat. Like, for example, I played on C9 before, and whenever I play against C9, I always want to beat them more than anyone else. And, I imagine they feel the same way when they play against FlyQuest, or even if I play against players individually that I respect. For example, CoreJJ, before I started playing competitively, was like one of the people I would look up to, I didn't ever really, when I started playing esports, I didn't even know that this was something I wanted to pursue. And then to be playing against someone like him, I was like a bit starstruck at the time. So even like when I play against him in solo queue or competitive, usually I'm like, my posture is just terrible. I'm just leaning fully back, and I see I'm playing against him and I'll sit up,
The classic gamer meme going from like this to
yeah, literally. It's, people are, not a lot of people, like I feel challenged by, or there's not a lot of people I have respect for. So when there is someone, it can be like a mini big deal.
I'm gonna just like ask you a little bit about Zven because you actually played sort of with him on C9 before. Before that, Cloud9 is like has two teams at this point because Dignitas is kind of like Cloud9 Light, don't you think? Like or like Cloud9 Yellow because four players are ex Cloud9 members at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I think that C9 had like, I guess they kind of took a detour on their like original philosophy. I know like C9 really likes to promote people, and they kind of had like a system where that was how the teams were changing, if at all. Like Blabber replaced someone. I don't remember. I didn't really watch LCS back then.
Yeah.
Yeah, he replaced Fensgaren. Fudge replaced Licorice. Mid lane has obviously gone through a series of changes, but even King subbed in for Zven at some point, and I mean, I don't know the history that well, but the point I'm trying to make is they had this system where a lot of the players they were getting for talent, even me, came from Academy originally on that team. But in 2022, when they took this whole new path with all these imports and all these Koreans, like we had Berserker who stayed long term now, and there's been MNS, there was Diplex, there's all this importing business has, I mean, they've kind of, I guess, changed their philosophy, or they've just gone a different route. And I don't know. I think my teammates have something to prove too, that they deserve their chance to play. And I don't know. That's kind of, I mean, obviously Speaker didn't play for Cloud9, but I mean, we can all, I mean, I think most of us will look back on Cloud9 as a positive experience, regardless of how it turned out. I'm not sure how everyone else parted ways, but like for me, it wasn't like necessarily on the best terms. But now I look back on it now, and like I'm so glad I went to C9, and it doesn't make me any less motivated to want to play against them and beat them. But it was still fun being there, and I wish them the best outside of playing against me.
I like that. I wish them the best, except when they're playing against me. What out of FlyQuest and Cloud9, because obviously there's like reasons to want to beat both. Who would you rather like beat if you could only beat one of them? Like you were gonna go 1-on-1 between these two, but you only have to pick one to win.
Tough, actually. I mean, obviously, personally, I would rather beat Cloud9, but like I think my teammates, just based off their FlyQuest experiences, especially because they're more recent, would probably care more about beating Fly. So that would be funny as well. Like beating Fly for them and like with them, it'd be maybe more entertaining. I don't know. Yeah, maybe FlyQuest would probably be better.
All right, team player. I'm a big Zven fan, and I'm happy that he found his place in the LCS. But I did want to ask because the last time he was AD carry, we kind of heard that he's actually a leader outside of the game, but not necessarily very vocal during the game. So like he knows how to play the game, but when he's in the game, maybe he doesn't talk as much. Is he still like that? Has his time as a support maybe helped him in game shot calling at all? I know you didn't really play with him much as an AD carry, but
what I would say is that a lot of what I learned as a player was from Zven and is outside of the game stuff, like the way you conduct yourself when you review games, the way you view the game, what points do you think are important, and even just the way I talked. A lot of it I learned from him, and I think these are some of the best qualities that I have that I learned from him in like Cloud9, like 2021 or something like that. And even if someone, especially ADCs, don't talk as much in the game, I wouldn't say the narrative is like completely true. I think he does talk probably more than the average ADC player, but it's like still normal for ADC players to talk less. It's the most mechanically intensive role. It's also the most simplistic at times. So, he might be doing his own thing. And I like to think too that a lot of the small stuff in League, once you play enough together as a team or as a duo or whatever it might be, a lot of the stuff that you do, you shouldn't have to speak about. And I don't know, a lot of the lessons I've already learned, like I said, I learned from him and I like out of game stuff, and he's a really good view about the game. I think he's very studious in a way, and he's also spent like so much of his time grinding. He's not one of those players that just sits back and idly wins or loses. It's really someone who puts time into it, and this sort of atmosphere and culture is something that motivates me, and I hope motivates all the people I play with and all the people I have played with. If you have this type of mindset where you're playing the game constantly and you're trying to be vocal in and out of the game, you're trying to help your teammates and show the best side of yourself, then you hope you can motivate them to do the same.
I guess I kind of assumed that Zven would be the leader on this team just because he seems like the most vocal person, but is that assumption correct?
Honestly, I mean, I haven't played on that many teams, but this team is definitely the most vocal team I think I've played with. There's so many different voices. I feel like everyone is bringing something that they've played or like something they've known from the past into this team. So honestly, right now it can be a little bit chaotic. Like we haven't been screaming for that often, and not for very long at all. This like might have scrimmed only like 4 or 5 times at this point, but I feel like every day it gets so much better. Like the progression is just so fast. Like the first day we played so bad, and now it's like the 4th day we're like, oh, it's like not that bad. It's starting to actually, that trend is really going upwards, and I think people are sort of starting to slowly understand what they need to say, what they don't, and people will speak less or speak at times that are more important. We try to like balance that out. It's not necessarily something that has to be said, but you can't just have everyone screaming in the game at all times. But I think just talking about the dynamic specifically, I think Speaker talks a lot, which is a good thing. He's a jungle. I think junglers need to talk more than anyone else, just because of how the role is and how jungle dictates the early game and whatever. Obviously, top lane talks the least, usually. That's just because top lane is the most isolated. But I mean, Jensen and I talk a lot, and I think Jensen is really good at understanding just mid-game macro in general. And he's very vocal in review about it too. He's already taught me some things that I, would have spent definitely more time trying to learn about, if not for him. So I think everyone contributes, is what I would say.
Every single one of your teammates has a story. Licorice didn't play last split. 3 of your teammates didn't play last split. One of them like got kicked from his team. There's a lot of reasons for when you guys win that the onstage interview is with one of your teammates. And I know you really want to get an onstage interview. How are you going to go about getting an onstage interview?
I'm not really that hopeful, truthfully. I think, well, I hope it's kind of hard to be the person in the spotlight when I think I have people on my team of such with the reputation that they have, the fan base that they have, and the narrative, the stories that they've had, and I don't really mind taking the back seat as long as we win. I think if everyone puts in their all, which I hope they will, and I hope that I will as well, and we can all come together, then I think on-stage interviews will be the least of our worries. I'll be hopefully off to Worlds and thinking about how to beat really good teams, and that's more so what I care about at the end of the day anyway.
All right. That's a fair answer. Yeah, I think that's all the time we have. Thank you for the interview. That was a really fun interview. Isles has been growing on me. Today the interviews or the second half of the interviews were pretty fun. The Masu Busio, which should be coming out soon, Isles and Fake God. I enjoyed them quite a lot. Even though, like I said in the Masu interview, or I'm not sure if I said that, or cut it out, but I wasn't actually supposed to get Masu. Like I didn't know I was getting Masu, and they were like, "Hey, you have Masu." I was like, "Wait, I have Masu." And anyways, it was cool. I'm prepared, but it was cool. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing C9 Yellow, what they're gonna do. I want to see when they play against C9 Blue, and I want to see when they play against FlyQuest, especially that game. That game's gonna be fun. I'm gonna be making some content around that.